The total amount of money wagered on sports betting from 2018 to today is a whopping $160 billion. And that's only coming from the 26 states that legalize sports betting and have numbers to report so far. However, as many of you know, sports betting has taken place for centuries, way before 2018. Historians find it nearly impossible to pinpoint exactly when sports betting began, but we like to look towards the late 1800s and the early 1900s. Since then, people have been gambling on sports in a multitude of ways. Originally, the highest stakes that were placed were on horse racing. Shocker. However, over time, as professional sports evolved, so did the business of betting. And of course, just like every other industry, there's no shortness of controversy. Most notably, the 1919 Black Sox scandal, which I will be making a video on in the near future, is thought to be the initial jump towards regulation. Over the next, 73 years to today, legalized sports betting has taken many twists and turns both on a state and national level. But let me just make this clear. This video is not about the history of sports betting. I can make a video on that in the future. No, the thing is, over that 73-year span, eventually there had to be someone who begged the question, who is the greatest sports gambler of all time? And no, it isn't Mattress Mac, who just had the all-time largest win at $75 million at this past World Series. It's a man by the name of Billy Walters. Walters was born on July 15, 1946, in a very small town called Munfordville, Kentucky. He was born into poverty and raised by his grandmother with no running water and no indoor plumbing. So at just 7 years old, Billy Walters launched his first business, mowing lawns. And 2 years later, he would begin a paper route, working at 4:30 in the morning before going to school. Fast forward a few more years, and he was now living with his mother and his stepfather, grinding his behind off. He worked at a bakery from 4:30 in the morning to 7 in the morning, went to school, came home, and went to work at a gas station from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. Living the grind. The man became the hardest worker possible at only 13 years old, but it would later shape him into the man that he became. And crazy enough, you don't have to go into the future to find out where his sports gambling career began. No, you go backwards actually to age 10 when he placed his first sports wager. In the 1955 World Series between the New York Yankees and the Brooklyn Dodgers, Billy Walters would place a $125 bet on the New York Yankees against a local grocer. In today's money, that's $1,389.98. Pretty significant for a 10-year-old. And unfortunately, he lost his first bet. However, that did not deter him in the slightest. And by 22, he would be down $50,000. And later into his 20s, he would lose his home, go through a divorce, and find himself a little stuck. That is until 1982, because he was a losing gambler up until that point. But everything switched in the 80s. Walters joined Computer Group, which utilized computer analysis to analyze sports outcomes and helped lead him to a ridiculous winning record that you're about to learn. Over the span of 40 years, 4 decades, Walters is considered to only have one losing year. And in that included a 30-year winning streak, meaning he was positive for 30 years. The best gamblers on earth are barely positive. Barely. He bet on basketball and football, both at a professional and collegiate level. He even bet recently into the early 2000s. Some of his notable bets: the 2007 Rose Bowl, where he chose USC to beat Michigan, and they did. And that paid out $2.2 million. And then 2 years later, for Super Bowl 44, he would bet on the New Orleans Saints, and they would beat a prime Peyton Manning and net him $3.5 million. What? I mean, who in their right mind is choosing the underdog Saints against a prime Peyton Manning? Well, Billy Walters' computer and his almost $4 million will tell you. But he'll tell you that $4 million really isn't that much to him. Walters was allegedly gambling up to $2 million per week in the NFL season. But because he was so good at it, he made a yearly income of about $15 million just on gambling alone. So that doesn't include all of his other business ventures. There has to be something, right? He just can't keep getting away with this.
He can't keep getting away with it!
Over those 40 years, constant harassment from the FBI, the United States in general, the state of Nevada, and everyone imaginable. Everyone wanted to take this guy down and make sure that he stops taking money from them. He was even banned from multiple locations in Nevada and eventually banned as a whole. So he kind of did get away with it, but also kind of didn't. He was involved in a flurry of scandals and lawsuits throughout his time, but nobody could prove that he was doing anything illegal. And apparently he wasn't when it comes to sports betting. But that's where the catch is. His wrongs came in other areas of business. One wrong costed him 5 years in a federal prison and up to $10 million in fines for his alleged role in an insider trading case. He reportedly benefited from Dean Foods Co. stock from 2008 to 2014, which netted him a whopping $32 million. That'll get you on the radar. So, although they didn't nail him for sports betting, they did finally nail the guy that they've been chasing after for 40 years. But hilariously enough, Walters was pardoned by former President Donald Trump as he was on his way out of office. He was released with 2 years remaining on his sentence, so he finished that out on house arrest. Actually, this year, 2022, was the year that he was fully released and done with his sentence. And with his absurd amount of money, he seems to be doing just fine, and those fines probably didn't do much to him. Now a free man once again, did he return to sports gambling? Well, according to his website, he's retired from it and focused solely on philanthropic and other business ventures. However, he's still here to leave his mark on the sports betting world. In early August of this year, Walters filed a trademark for Billy Walters, the Billy Walters handicapping system, and the Billy Walters sports handicapping system. Supposedly, he's gonna let us schmucks in on a little bit of his tips and tricks and how he became the most successful gambler of all time. It'll be a website and app that'll provide insights, news, and consultation, as well as commentary on the sports world and sports betting world. With his system, will you become the next Billy Walters? With, just more of the philanthropic and positives to it, not the lawsuits, divorces, severe gambling addiction, and, the federal prison aspect. Stay out of federal prison. So that's a little bit of the story and gambling life of the most successful gambler of all time, Billy Walters. If you'd like a little bit more of a deep dive and more information, you can check it out at the links below with all the resources that I found to make this video. You can also find links to my social media, Mike Kravchenko on Twitter, Instagram, my K-Talk on TikTok. Check out my website below for more content from me as well. I thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.